What up, YouTube world? Gotta bust out the microphone and the tripod for this one. So, today we are talking about emotional blocks, mindset blocks, procrastination. We're also talking about not wanting to build the business, even though we know we should. Like maybe kind of feeling addicted to content, gaming, binging, scrolling. Okay, all of that. So, hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm really plugging my YouTube now on my IG, especially. TikTok will redirect to IG, IG will redirect to YouTube. Basically, hey, I want you to spend time with you, and I want you to spend time with me in my videos. I'm just giving you free coaching and free, energy. And if it's valuable and if it really is solving your problems, then, hope you spend more time with me and make me your number one person. And then the right people will find me and we will do business together. Okay. But it's just a redirect, right? Big funnel: TikTok, IG, YouTube, and then bank account, personal business. All right. Personal brand. So, anyways, my YouTube videos are just the very long version of what I'm talking about in my IG Reels. It's really like the yin to my yang. IG Reels is just micro doses. Okay, we're micro dosing. And Yeah, it took me a while to kind of just figure myself out and figure out my own energy. Um, my energy comes in the morning like a huge wave of energy. And, I like to look at Mayan astrology. The Mayan system of time is like everybody has a tone of like 1 through 13. And that tone is kind of like how energy comes in these waves from 1 to 13. So I'm tone 1. I'm the launch tone. And I think that is true and that does resonate with me. I mean, I agree with it and I like to believe it. So, anyways, I think that even manifests like daily in terms of all my energy comes in the morning, and I just want to boom, like launch the wave. And then the rest of the day, it's like it's not as though I'm not productive. It's just my most productive and energetic content is like right when I wake up, like a cannon. But it took me a while to even be able to wake up early. Like if I don't wake up early and if I sleep in, I don't feel hardly as much energy at all. So I don't know, for me it just comes in the morning. All right, and I never used to be a morning person. I got my green tea, but I had to learn to become a morning person. It was self-love, self-respect, and self-mastery. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I hope you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on IG and TikTok. I'm building those three primarily. TikTok is like a whole different version of another universe. TikTok is me as an artist. I'm moving to Asia. I market mostly to Asian people actually on TikTok. And then if I move to China, it will be Douyin, which is the Chinese TikTok. It's just called Douyin. But, anyways, TikTok is like a whole nother person over there. That's Lux, my artist. IG and YouTube is me, Benjamin, coaching and hopefully uplifting, healing, and inspiring this world. That's my spiritual calling, and I believe part of my spiritual destiny to serve people. And that's why we get into coaching, because coaches genuinely usually are empaths, usually have a high degree of connection and intimacy. They enjoy being around people. They want to be around people. They want to talk to people. They enjoy socializing and networking, but they'd like to be paid to do that, with effort. And right, so it's either effort or discipline or healing or sometimes, inspiration or creativity or transcendence. I like to use the chakras. It's usually one of seven chakras. I mean, we could literally define most of reality, maybe all of reality, into just one of seven buckets or seven categories. So, whatever you're going through right now, whatever your goal is, or whatever we're trying to figure out, together. That's going to come through. I like to look at the chakras. So I'm using orange today. I woke up and I could feel, it's almost like every day when I wake up, I download what I'm supposed to talk about, the chakra that I'm supposed to use. So anytime I need to just like launch my energy, I'm using like red and maroon, right? That color then transforms and then shows me the opportunity, or essentially shows me what my audience wants from me. So coaching is a bizarre thing where you are trying to, content creation, you're trying to communicate with this audience that is hopefully growing, and you're trying to, if you could be telepathic, that would be even better. If you could just be hardwired to your intuition and just know what to do, that would be better, because then you wouldn't have to like waste time guessing. But in the beginning, it is a lot of guessing, like what exactly do people want to talk about? How can I help them to the best of my ability? And what can I say, or what energy can I even use or channel? So I am just a channel, hopefully, of source, of God, of Christ consciousness, and I'm just here to try to help, and try to serve. All right. So building a coaching business is not like building any other business. In a way, yeah, it's just the drive and the energy to make content and, network and build relationships. But you know, after a while, I realized that everybody just wants visibility and to make content. They don't exactly want to prospect or network or do any kind of cold outreach. And like, so that's fine. And we just got to be very consistent with our content and then up level the content. So I look at it as like a skill tree. If you ever play video games, there's like talents, and then you get more every time you level up, you get more talents. And it's like, all right, then we're going into the tree of content, coaching through video content. All right. And that's fine. Then let's go in that direction. You got to make content daily. But if we're feeling blocked or disconnected or emotionally suffering, or procrastinating or feeling lazy, I like to specialize in performance, as performance to me is like the root or the base or the fundamental structure of life and success altogether. To me, it's like red, the roots of the tree. You know, the red is the container for all of the other energies, right? It all sits on top of the red, chair, maybe a table or a throne. So you got to have a strong structure and a base. First of all, firstly, the emotions, you could say, like, are we emotions? Are we a soul? Are we a mind? It's like all of these things, right? But it's all sitting on your time and your habits, right? So if you ever want to change anything about your emotions, your mindset, the ups and downs in life, even the pain that we feel in our heart and soul sometimes, like depression, like, and I've suffered with depression most of my life. I think I've found a way to manage it. Does it ever leave? Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it comes back, right? But that all sits on your habits. So when I wake up early, this is my favorite time of the day, you know, dawn. You only get this beautiful blue color like for like 15 minutes, right? And it goes from black to basically kind of like a gray, and then, sunlight, then to yellow. So anyway, so yeah, when I wake up at the correct time, I feel like another person. Like literally, the version of myself is predicated on what time I woke up. Sometimes it's okay to go out or be on vacation or have a night out, or if it's worth having an event to stay up for, not just like mindlessly going to the club or staying up all night playing games or watching shows. That's why you feel stuck, right? Because we're being frivolous with our time. Okay. All of the mindset work is going to be wasted and squandered if we fall back to those old habits, right? That's why it's like poison, it's kryptonite. Okay, so in my YouTube content, you're going to see more of my red personality. Maybe that's more masculine, but it's like you want to balance out both. You want to balance out your feminine energy and your masculine energy, but it's that masculine authority is what generates habits and momentum. It's your the guardian of your mind. It's your inner parent. Your inner parent has to be masculine because the inner child is usually more feminine or softer or submissive or whatever. Like all little children are like soft and delicate, okay? Not a single child or young, kid is like, even though they may want to be alpha, that comes with developing your mind and your power, right? So we're always both. You're always the guardian, you're always the child. You're all, I'm not going to say male, female. Today, like they like to talk about gender. Men are becoming more in tune with their feminine, women are becoming more in tune with their authority, right? This world is seeking balance in itself, not this world. I feel like humanity is evolving to not like need a partner, which means we all want to be self led and self balanced. I feel like we all want to integrate both of our, they call it a twin flame, without being codependent and like needing a partner to balance us out, you know? So people who are drawn to coaching are also oftentimes drawn to self mastery. This is the most difficult path. This is the path of ascension. This is the noble path. This is the holy path, is to master my life and my reality. And it's not just about having a certain amount of money or followers, although that seems to be what people are obsessed with in the most materialistic level. But in the emotional level, like, am I even enjoying my life, and am I even enjoying this process? So, the first block is just like emotional and spiritual contamination. That's usually in the heart and in the belly, which is the sacrum, and then the heart. These are the two feminine chakras, and the third is the third eye. So I will actually start with the heart. I start with the feminine first. I balance out my feminine energy first. Then I go to my masculine. And the order in which I balance my feminine energy out, I've been doing these same cycles over and over and over again for like literally like 15 years. I've been studying like chakras and like trying to create a kind of like a system for myself, and that system has worked, and I've scaled businesses very quickly. If we're looking at success in just terms of money, like I've made $100-200 an hour in multiple businesses, relatively quickly to all of my competitors. So I do this fast and I go to the top of the industry. Okay. That's the proof in the masculine. But in the feminine, it's like, how can you prove self love? You can't. You can only feel it and then observe it. And it's just a feeling of like when you're around somebody or somebody has that special glow, and you're like, damn, I kind of want more of that. I want to be around more of that, someone with like a beautiful smile, like if you were an alien and came to Earth, you'd probably think we're all like weird because nobody is smiling in public. You ever notice that? Everybody, especially if you go to like Europe, where it's more like streets and towns, it's more like villages became like town centers, you know, kind of more medieval, evolution of civilization, right? But people would congregate, and just the geography of the way Europe is, flat and like, but like people are walking around, but are people generally happy and smiling? No, not really. You'd be like, what the hell is wrong with these people? They're all like miserable. Why are they all so miserable? Because they're obsessed with the wrong things. And then they medicate and binge on content and food, you know, to balance out how unhappy they are. And that's kind of, in my honest opinion, that's kind of the state of this world that we live in right now, 2026. Human beings, we're awakening to our true potential. We're feeling the call to balance ourselves out, our masculine and feminine energies, and ascend spiritually. But our priorities are still backwards. We're obsessed with likes, follows, matches, attention, vanity still, but then really struggling with the discipline and the connection, So life is not that complicated. If you can master the root and the sacrum, you'll have a pretty fucking successful life. The root meaning like discipline or red performance, the sacrum being, emotional connection and just an overall feeling of wellness. I mean, that's a very basic, kind of oversimplified model of reality, but it's really two things: masculine, feminine, right? Mother, father, male, female, yin, yang. It's my feeling of momentum, pride, satisfaction in the masculine sense. Do I feel like I'm a competent man? Do I feel like my life has worth? It's a feedback of validation, and it's oftentimes women that validate men, but we validate each other. But your own feminine validates your own masculine, right? You have both in yourself. So it's like, do I feel like am I proud of am I satisfied with my masculine, performance or not? But then if the woman is suffering, if the emotions and the heart is suffering, then it's like, it's so hard to even care about productivity. Like I felt like I needed to be successful by the time I was like 20. It's like a ridiculous standard. Like, you don't know anything about anything and you're 20 years old, and why do you think you need to be so successful? You don't know anything about business, sales, marketing. Like, you haven't had any experience, and you think you need to already be a 10. Do you know what I mean? And we're so like artificially hard on ourselves, and then by the time I was like 24, I felt like I was already old. It's what a ridiculous mindset, right? When you're 20 and you know nothing, you think you already need to be like a master of something, and then when you're 24 years later, you're still a young adult, still a kid. You think like, oh, I need to have my life like figured out, and like now it's already too. It's like, it's stupid. And then after like 26, 27, you're already like old. Okay. This is what human beings do to themselves. This is the burden of expectation and like ridiculous standards. Because you're looking at billionaires on Instagram, that have already done it, and they're like 17 years old. You're like, dude, you have no idea what that person's life is actually like. You only see a fantasy, hyper exaggerated image of them on social media. You have no idea, you know, the pain that we all go through, the suffering, the depression, the procrastination. Okay, they mastered one thing very quickly, or they got lucky, or maybe they just had a lot of good karma and they used all of their karma to be rich and young and beautiful. But like, dude, you got to live your own life. That's not your life. You should need to love your life. Love and own your life. Whoever you are watching this, you know I genuinely am a nice guy most of the time. Sometimes I'm kind of crazy savage, but that's in my savage modes. I hope you understand. For the most part, I am like a spiritual guy. I am a Taurus. My Venus is in Cancer. Taurus and Cancer are very homely, want to take care of you kind of energies. Okay, that's how I genuinely feel about humanity and my audience watching this. Like, I do want to like take care of you and like help you, because I felt so damaged and alone, and I felt like I had nobody that would care about me. Why would they care about me? And then we do these terrible things to ourselves in our own head. Well, why would anybody care about you? You're a fucking loser. We attack ourselves in our own head, and we are our own greatest critics. You're a fucking loser. You're nobody. You're not doing anything. You need to be more productive. What are you doing playing video games all day long? You should be working. You should be growing your business, and then your inner child, or your inner feminine, or whatever you want to call it, there's an inner child probably, but it's like, I just feel so sad. I just have no energy. I barely have anything left outside of just even just like paying my bills, and then I'm supposed to be like super productive all the time and successful and scaling and hitting all these numbers. Why? And then let's say that you can do that and you start doing that and you develop the discipline, and let's say you have hit some numbers or had a good job or whatever, you've had success, but then you feel so empty and broken inside. You have nobody to spend time with because you're working all the time. You just traded like an addiction to gaming to an addiction to like working. Work becomes the game. But you're still suffering. You know what I mean? Like no matter what, you're gonna suffer. So at least you're productive. Okay, but then like now we feel empty inside. Okay, we feel disconnected. So, anyways, guys, I'm trying to help these versions of myself. I have achieved some pinnacles of success, not enough to be like, you know, Alex Hormozy or something, famous for that. But I don't think that's what I want to be known for. I don't want to be known for business. I want to be known for like life mastery. I am a life path 9, the humanitarian, and I'm a spiritual person. I want to be known for my love for God and service, and I want to be known for my contribution. And it's like, yeah, I do want to have a lot of money and bragging rights, but that's not my core. That's not my anchor. All right. So now let's apply this to you and your life if you're still watching. Like, I want you to follow me on IG, TikTok, and subscribe to my YouTube, please, because I am religiously building now. I've committed 100%. When I commit, I don't stop. The problem is I just never committed because I didn't believe in myself. So I had to go through some personal changes to actually believe in myself. And I believe in you. And I want you to experience the same levels. And I'm not perfect and I don't have all the answers and I haven't figured this all out, but I have healed a tremendous amount of pain in myself. So much fucking pain, guys, to like not even want to live, to not even be able to function. Like, I can't even hold down jobs. I'm getting fired and quitting, just always struggling, just endlessly struggling. Like, my 20s was just constantly struggling. Okay. And I mastered struggle and I mastered pain and I mastered discipline. So I do think I have a masterful level of spiritual, energy. It's masculine and feminine both. And then what's the point? Okay. If you have money and followers and friends and love, okay, great. And then what? Do you just want more of it? What's the pinnacle? What is the pinnacle of success? Like, what are we doing all of this for? So you feel proud of yourself, so people congratulate you, so you have big numbers, you have a lot of followers or friends or lover, people chase you or admire you, then you have stalkers. Like what is the point of fucking any of this, right guys? I'm trying to help you find that clarity and passion and healing and purpose. But I believe, like, okay, let's imagine you have infinite amounts of lifetimes to figure this all out. Whatever you want to have, whatever you want to experience. You want to be a playboy with millions of girls, or you want to be Mother Teresa and heal the world, or you want to be an icon like a Gandhi or a Martin Luther King or somebody iconic, you know, okay, and then what happens when you achieve that? And then what? And then you probably feel pretty empty. Like, then what? You want to be a superstar like Rihanna or Eminem, and then did they sell their souls? Like, nobody knows. Or they just tell you that because it's edgy and dark. Like, what's really going on in government and I don't know, the ultra elite. But okay, and what if you could experience that and keep your soul, okay, and not lose your soul and not lose yourself? Then what? Eventually, guys, I think we come to the conclusion that if I choose to come to Earth as a human being, why are we here? If I was an alien, assessing the value of planet Earth, or like, their spiritual progress, what grade would I give them? If I was an alien to come back to Earth, to help human beings ascend, what is the fucking point of any of this? Right? So I start with the basics. I start with your heart and your sacrum. I start with your feminine energy. Are you enjoying life? Are you happy with yourself? Do you even feel any like inspiration or joy or love? Do you have people that love you, care about? This is such a fucking damaged world. Still, we're so damaged. We ghost each other, we swipe on each other, and then we complain about how lonely we are. It's like a very like fucked up, backwards kind of system. We are numb to everybody, and yet we are craving intimacy, but we reject everybody. We crave intimacy, but reject everybody, and then complain about how lonely we are. You know what I mean? It's like being in a room full of happy people and then me vlogging in this room of like happy people about how depressed I am. It's like, dude, look around. You're surrounded by bright souls. That's why I like this light, because to me, that's like what happiness. If happiness was a shape, bought at IKEA, it was like $300. If happiness, maybe it was like 150, but if happiness was a shape, it's like a firework, like happiness and then friends, like that to me is like a soul, a cluster of souls, right? One unified soul, and then all these happy little souls like fireworks. Okay, so that's why I got into coaching, you guys, because money was no longer validating to me. Some part of me wishes I could have scaled it to a level that I could have sold it, had a multi 6 7 figure exit. That didn't happen, but I think it will happen eventually, because I love business. I like business. I enjoy the process of building something valuable. So I will always build valuable things because that's who I am at the core. But how can you be valuable when you don't even want to get up every day, when you feel so dead inside, and you have suffering and depression and then procrastination, and then now you have this very mean kind of angry, you have like a mean angry parent. You're not doing good enough, you're being lazy, what the fuck are you doing, man? Wake up. And then you have this like very sad, damaged, inner child that's like, dude, I'm just like trying to hold on. I'm just holding on for dear life. Life is not this peaceful Zen temple on a lake, beautiful paradise. It's more like a, white water rafting. And I just have a vest and a helmet, and I'm just, going down these rapids and just getting slammed in the fucking face. That's how most of my life has felt. Just fucking constant pain and chaos, and that's what entrepreneurship feels like sometimes. And building a business, building a coaching business, it's like, dude, I'm making videos that nobody watches. It's so fucking depressing, right? And like, that's not true. You probably do have at least someone. You have to love the fact that at least one person, even if they lived in fucking India and didn't even speak English, like, or it was, you didn't know if it was a bot, at least one person, supported you. You have to be that one person. When you have zero, you have to be that first person. Zero becomes one. You have to become one, right? We all start at zero. We have nothing. No, you're a little kid, you have no money. A little kid's net worth is zero, you know? Okay. So, anyways, you just have to be okay with being a one. Okay. I'm a 1 out of 10 right now. That sucks. How do you feel? I'm a 1 out of 10. I have no followers. I have no money, blah, 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 blah. Complaining and complaining. Okay. Then how do you get support? You get support by giving support. Then you just give support religiously and endlessly. Okay. And you got to do the reps. So, all right. I've been talking for a while. Let's take that screen, swipe, new screen, blank canvas now. Okay. The theme of today is blocks, procrastination, emotional, discomfort, not feeling so happy. I woke up and I saw this image in my mind of like a big bowl, like a metallic bowl, like a Buddhist kind of, big bowl, right? And the what, like, that's my social media avatar, and I'm channeling in attention into this big bowl, and it's like a filling with water, right? And then what does that water feel like? It felt very toxic and uncomfortable and damaged. And you could say that that is me, that was me when I needed a coach the most, or when I needed a hero, or when I was just desperate for support or a mentor or a role model. Like that was the most, toxic, fucked up version of myself. It was just suffering. He wanted purification. He wanted to be valuable. He just did not feel valuable at all. People told him he was trash. People told him he was worthless. People told him that he had no value, and it's just sad when, like, people tell you that you have no value. And that was said to me a lot in my childhood. My inner child was very sad. Why do you hate me so much? Why do you think I'm scum? Little kids want to be helpful and valuable, and you're telling them that they're not valuable. They can't help. There's nothing you can do about it. You're just trash. There's nothing that can be done about it. You're just fucked. That was like literally my subconscious programming. There was good programming too, like be responsible, save money, work hard, do better in life. But there was also a lot of junk DNA, a lot of contamination, a lot of junk files in my programmed into my mind, like you suck, you're fat, you're weird, you're ugly. I mean, this is just being a human being, right? Not too much shame on my childhood or my family, but we all suffer. You ain't shit, you're nothing, you're nobody, you're a loser. Why would any girl want you? Why would anybody want you? You have no value, and then it's like the world forces you to show them your value, like a fucking job interview. Will demonstrate your job to us and maybe we will accept you, right? You have to compete just to get a fucking job that you don't even want, so that's why we wonder why this world is so fucked, because you're forced to compete for something that you're not even that happy doing, just to survive. So a lot of the pain and misery comes from survival tax. Well, I just have to survive. Okay. Well, I'll be honest. It's better to be your own boss, and it's better to have control over your life. And I would rather live in a studio apartment and drive a beat up car and just slash all of my bills and just do whatever random, 1099 jobs, self contracted jobs. At least I am self employed and my own boss. And that's what I did. And I would do that again and again and again. I might have to do that again as I'm building my coaching business. I don't know. I'm okay with it because every time I've done this, I've started making massive amounts of money. So it's like I'm good at making money. It's just I keep choosing more and more difficult enterprises. Like I'm an ambitious guy. Like I have already mastered small business to the point of I'm pretty confident I could be a millionaire or a multimillionaire with a small business and try to grow it into a large business. But that's not my dream, and that's not my destiny. That's not my. I think I will have a lot of businesses and a lot of assets, but that's not my core. That's not what defines me. What defines me is I needed to have a big goal. So, guys, let's wrap up this video. When you're struggling and when you feel lost and, like my younger version of myself, very fucking contaminated, kind of toxic, I needed to heal. I needed to purify my own emotions, my own soul. So I always start with the feminine. Now, once you start feeling more healed and more balanced, then we start feeling better. And it kind of slips our mind. We don't really think about healing anymore. We're thinking about productivity, right? Now we're thinking about masculine things. Now the masculine's wanting to, have some expression. I want to feel like I'm doing better in my life. I want to feel proud of myself. I want people to congratulate me. I want to have numbers. I want to have followers, and I want to have money, in my account, and I want to have better habits, maybe saving, investing, waking up earlier, working out, nutrition, right? In the masculine, we just want to improve ourselves. I think the masculine is craving like perfection, in the most abstract sense. Like all human beings, we all want to feel like we are doing better, like that's a universal thing. Like, no, I don't think any human being wants to feel like trash or scum or useless. We all want to be congratulated. Like it gives us a tremendous feeling of pleasure when somebody acknowledges our talent. You know what I mean? You did a great job. Yeah, that was amazing. everybody enjoys being praised, like genuinely praised and appreciated for our talent and our effort, you know? Even if we don't have that many skills, even if we're not born as an artist, I can't draw for shit. I can make beautiful music, but I can't draw at all. My handwriting is terrible, you know, so we're only good at a few things, you know, but those things that we're decently good at, or if you're good at nothing, you can learn and develop skills. And even business is just the skill of discipline. So you don't have to be smart, you don't have to be beautiful, you don't have to be privileged. You just got to move your ass and you'll figure out the strategy, right? You got to move your ass and then your strategy improves. So oftentimes we're just trading hustle for strategy. And I think the universe rewards us for everything that we do that is above and beyond, even if it's healing or even if it's being kind to somebody. I think all of that generates like a karma, you know, and that karma is what we use to purchase our dreams, to purchase our ascension. I think you have to kind of like purchase it and earn it. So sometimes I'm supposed to just work my ass off and be a fucking relentless machine. You know, I don't mind working 14 hours a day if that's what I feel like I'm supposed to do. And that's how I've taken businesses to a high level quickly, because I just put in a massive amount of energy. But that's not what we're always called to do. Sometimes we're called to go into healing and go into wellness. Sometimes we're called to slow down and rest and build your family, build your tribe, find love, you know, go explore. So, you know, working is just a small part of it, but, you know, it's like this world tends to just glorify and worship, you know, people that just work so hard and have money and status. And, you know, so we live in a very kind of artificial world where all of the pride is based on like money and status. That's it, you know. If we don't have money and status and we say, well, you know, I've done good enough, or, you know, I'm doing okay, I'm doing fine, but, you know, some part of us though would love to feel like, oh, dude, I'm fucking killing it, man. I'm doing so well. I made so much today. I had such a big day, good day. You know, okay, that's half of the equation. I would like to feel more proud of myself as a man, or more, you know, more accomplished or more esteemed. In the feminine though, dude, I just want to have a reason to fucking live. You know, I want to have a reason to get up today. I don't want to feel this miserable fucking burden of life. I don't want to feel this miserable, depressed, you know, stuck. That's the worst. You know, God, having to heal people's pain and then I feel their depression, or it's my depression and then I'm triggered. You know, it can be exhausting and it can be deflating and it can be crushing, and you know, we're not having fun when I'm not enjoying this. I'm suffering, you know, I'm trying my best, and then that still isn't good enough, you know, never good enough. So yeah, there is a haunting suffering, and I want to feel bliss and zen and have this amazing life, or even just feel okay, you know. So that's why life in reality is so difficult, because sometimes we're not feeling any energy, sometimes we're feeling painful. So for me, coaching is a mastery of, you know, both my performance, but then also my wellness. And then when we can master both, then we're thinking about transcendence, we're thinking about ascension. I'm thinking like, well, what exactly do I want to fucking do with my life? You know, like I know how to be motivated. I know how to be disciplined. It took me a very long time, but I figured that out. Started getting promoted, started my own businesses, doing much better, but still kind of inconsistent, and haven't saved a whole lot of money, you know, using all of that for my next venture. You know, how long is that going to take? You know, I don't know. Doesn't matter. I've achieved fast fucking results. Like when I'm healthy and when I'm like mentally stable, I'm very fucking productive, much more productive than an average person, you know, and I've done much better than an average person. Okay. But how do you treat people? You know, maybe I've just been very mean. Maybe I've been so aggressive, just like building businesses, that I start treating people, like a number, and that's not very nice. So maybe I've been toxic, or maybe I've been abusive, or maybe I've been cold, So I don't know, right? And I'm trying to be more supportive, and I'm just trying to give my very best, every day. So, anyways, guys, to wrap this up today, sometimes it's wellness, man. Sometimes it's just drive, and you got to tune into that drive. Okay. So, tactical coaching advice for the next 5 minutes. Every day, I'll end the video with just my very best coaching energy, as that's what I'm building. Okay. I'll give you my very best at the end of the video and at the end of every reel. And that's why you should follow me and subscribe. But, okay, if you want to master wellness, you want to master three things. You want to master wellness, you want to master like discipline and productivity and performance and whatever skills and all that business stuff. Okay. And then you want to master like transcendence. You want to master both of these two. And then that unlocks the third level, which is like, I want to have like a meaningful life. Like, I want to have a life that's worth living, you know what I mean? Like it unlocks your spiritual mind, which is like, what is that just the point? Find love, start a family, have a business, become more successful. Do you know what I mean? Like the spiritual mind is trying to understand what the other two brains want. It's like you have a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere of your brain, and then you have a central like corpus callosum. You have your pineal gland and your pituitary gland. Like the brain is a very complex organ, but it shows us that we have like many sides to us. Your base subconscious self, your higher self, your pituitary gland, your pineal gland. So when you go into that, higher mind, higher self, it's like, do you know what I mean? Like you're thinking of like a bigger picture, like what am I doing? What do I want to be known for? What is my life? Like what's the rest of my life going to be? Is this all that there is? It's like, it's like searching for something. It's like searching for God, really. It's searching for like a higher expression of reality. And I think that's what creation is doing. Creation, yeah, okay, cool, man. I hope you make a lot of money and you can buy a Lamborghini or whatever, McLaren, or Bugatti, and date some supermodels. Okay, is that an amazing life? I hope you can experience bliss and success, and maybe one day you'll have 1 million followers, and what would that feel like? Oh my god, that'd be so crazy. Speaking to a room of 0 people and then have 1 million followers, or be interviewed by some, oh my god. Is that the crowning achievement of life? Or what about trying to heal the world, purify pain and disease and spiritual sickness, or combat, hunger or poverty? I don't know. Is there some kind of, Minnie, what do you want? Being very fussy. You're being very fussy. Huh? Didn't get enough attention, huh? I'm working right now. Hey, I'm busy. Go away. You can have attention when I'm done. All right, tactical coaching advice, dude. It's not that complicated, but it is very difficult for human beings to do. You do bursts. I've been coaching for free for a while, so I'm having to develop a system for like most people, right? Not just like hyper motivated people, but like all people. For most people, especially with the attention span of like social media these days, TikTok, it's like 15 minutes is like, that should be the first goal. Can you be productive and focused for 15 minutes? Like, it's like younger people all have fucking ADHD these days. They can't focus for like fucking 20 minutes. So asking them to chunk down a work day into like even an hour may be too difficult for someone who is like starting out, or for most people. So if you want this path of business, of self mastery, of a coaching business, well, dude, you got to treat it like an actual business, man. So it's just an assessment of your time every day. What are you doing with your time? My North Node is Capricorn. Capricorn is the master of time. It's the master of business, is mastery of time. Value is mastery of time. It's maximizing your minutes, your value per second when you're making content, but it's also like value per minute, value per hour of your working day. Then you're like, how much can I work without burning out? How much is good enough? And then you're obsessed with like figuring that out. For me, 10 hours, it just depends on the work that you're doing. Making content can be very energy intensive, and you're putting your very best energy into the content for like, three people on social media, and you're like, fuck, it's like, just keep doing it, man. You will skill up. The more that you do, the faster you will move. So you just got to program more, focus, 15-minute chunks, man. If you could work a 16-hour day, that would be 16 times 4 15-minute chunks, which is like, that's the absolute limit, I think, for anybody. Okay. I don't care who you are, Elon Musk. I don't think you're working 100 hours a week. Nor do I think you should. I don't think you should work 100 hours a week, dude. You'd be fucking miserable. Okay. But let's say 10 hours for 15-minute chunks. That's 40 chunks, 40 bursts. Okay. To me, that would be like absolute max 40 15-minute rounds, be 10 hours. Okay. Because when you're coaching and networking and making content, it's like a very different kind of working. It's hard to quantify that with like a desk job. Well, I just need you to process these files and these projects. You know what I mean? It doesn't break down so mathematically, just like lead generation and sales. Even, well, I need you to talk to 100 people and line up, 5 calls. It doesn't break down that perfectly, although we want it to have 5 calls a week. You'll get one high ticket client. You know what I mean? You get one client if you can do 5. Like, yeah, yes, kind of, sort of, but it's so much more like emotionally intensive. Like, it's a yin job. Coaching is a yin business, not a yang business. Okay, sales, door to door sales, a yang business, like a car dealership or like real estate. That's a yang business. I just need you to make these calls. I need you to look at 10 properties today. I need you to try to finance, one, it's not the same. Okay. So respect and love yourself for the fact that this is a yin business. This is an emotional business. This is a relationship business. This is a spiritual business. Not everybody's called to do this. Okay. Your job is to serve and just give as much as you can and build relationships when you're tired and you don't want to, or when you have another job and like, you're just trying to have enough energy, emotional energy to do this. Where does that energy come from? It comes from God. It comes from your soul. It comes from your